Power Talk, brought to you by ABB. Power and productivity for a better world.
So what's your reaction? When do you think it's going to happen, this great renewable revolution?
Well, Chris, we're going through a renewable revolution now, but there's a lot of hoodwinking that goes on. Remember, so often the powers that are quoted for renewables are the total installed capacity, not what you're going to get out. So when somebody tells you, here is a megawatt of wind, it means you're going to get a megawatt of wind when the wind blows. But usually you get 25% of that if you're lucky, and mostly less than 25%. So you can't go and say we've got 10 megawatts of coal power and 10 megawatts of wind power, and these are equal. They're not. The 10 megawatts of coal power you get, 10 megawatts of wind, you get 25% of that if you're lucky.
And what about this cutting of the tariffs? A lot of talk about that. A lot of people saying it doesn't make it worth their while anymore.
Well, I've been opposed to these tariffs from the beginning. These tariffs, to my mind, how on earth can you run a business where you're buying electricity for 3 Rand something and then reselling it for 1 Rand? Now, all this goes along on the basis that they say, if we put a lot of research money into wind and solar, there's going to be some massive breakthrough that's going to cause huge increases in efficiencies, and all of a sudden it'll become viable. I don't believe that. There's no science on the horizon right now that shows that there's going to be a quantum leap forward in the production of wind energy or a quantum leap forward in the production of solar energy.
Now, you're a nuclear physicist. Everyone's saying renewable energy, after what happened in Japan, what happened on that terrible thing. I mean, what do you think?
Terrible thing. It wasn't a terrible thing. Nothing has happened in Japan, quite frankly. Look how it's all quietly died away. The biggest earthquake ever on record hits the plant. The biggest wall of water ever on record hits the plant. One person dies, who's the crane operator, when the crane fell over. So far, nobody outside the plant has received any radiation whatsoever. 20-something people inside have received marginally more than the dose, the legal dose, which is probably going to be insignificant and inconsequential. So in fact, under the circumstances, the whole Fukushima thing has survived surprisingly well. Many more people have been killed in windstorms and so on in the United States in the last few hours. So I think nuclear is the future. However, there is a place for wind and solar, and that is where wind and solar can be made as standalone units that are independently profitable. That I'm all in favor of. A neat quiz question. People ask, how many megawatts or how much solar and wind does South Africa have? We heard this earlier on. 8 megawatts or something of wind energy in South Africa. Remember, that's installed capacity. That's not what you get. You get 25% of that if you're lucky. South Africa, in fact, has 300,000 wind energy devices. Those are all the windmills on farms that are pumping water up for the cows, and I'm all in favor of that. If every one of those was instead a couple of kilowatts electric motor, look how much more electricity we'll be using. I think there's valuable opportunity for wind and solar to be taken out to individual areas where, as individual projects, they are seen to be profitable by themselves.